Hey, good evening, everybody. No, it's not Wednesday, it's Tuesday. And Tuesday means it's a bonus episode of Let's Talk Racing Live. I'm so excited. This is our first bonus episode. And no, this is not Michelle Narx. This is Mike. And yes, I'm going to branch out and I'm going to interview a gentleman tonight. So
I'm
we're going to
excited.
have some really fun bonus episodes coming down in the future. And Wednesday, yes, we're going to stick to our ladies as much as we usually do, but our bonus episodes could be anything. So you have to keep track of us
Mm.
and watch and see who we're going to have. So my first bonus episode is with Mike Narx. Mike is with Drag and Drive Addiction. And I checked out what he was doing, and it looks so much fun. I've shared it with some of my family members that race. I'm like, you guys got to get on there and check out Drag and Drive. So,
Yeah.
Mike, I want to welcome you to the show. And why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself and where you live, your family, that kind of
Yeah.
thing, so we can get to know who Mike Narx is.
Well, perfect. Well, I want to say hi to everybody out there watching. I appreciate this, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on here. I love the what you are doing. It's so cool to see all this stuff coming up. So, my name is Mike Narks. I run dragondrive.com and a Facebook group called Drag and Drive Addiction. Essentially, what I do is live and breathe every day, all day, drag and drive cars. I am surrounded by women all day or at night at my house. I have two daughters. One is a cheerleader, one is a gymnast. And of course, my wife, who is the best wife I've ever had. She's amazing. She keeps me, I don't know, she keeps me in line and allows me to do all of the fun stuff that we do. She's actually in there right now writing out envelopes for people that purchased decals from us on dragondrive.com. So it's really cool. They are huge supporters of mine, and I'm of theirs. So all that
Awesome.
fun stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So dragondrive.com is really, it's my life most of the time to finish up there. We run a
Yeah.
full gamut of lists and all the historical data for all drag and drive events. So pretty wild.
It's so fun. So I had not heard of Drag and Drive. You reached out to me. I checked it out, and we've just had a wonderful 15-minute conversation
Yeah.
prior to going live. And I feel like I've made another great friend in motorsports. And I think we're probably going to stay connected from
Oh,
here out, because I think we can help each other quite a bit. So,
hey,
all
listen,
right.
if you give me an opportunity to talk drag and drive, I'll do it all day with anybody. It doesn't matter.
That's how I feel about women in motorsports,
Yeah.
because there is an endless number of women in motorsports around the world, because I'm international. So
Hmm.
I mainly focus on the United States, but I have a lot of ladies that I know in Australia, Canada. There's quite a number of ladies that listen to us from all
That's
around the
awesome.
world. So I will never run out of content or women that I can interview. But
Yes.
tonight it's all about you, Mike. So tell us, what is Drag and Drive? So what does a Drag and Drive event consist of, and maybe a little bit of history about those events?
Yes, certainly. So a drag and drive is one of the hardest events that you will ever compete in because you are drag racing every day full out, and then you are loading that car and trailer with yourself and all of your supplies and driving that race car to the next track, which makes for a lot of roadside repair, which is always cool stories. We love those as content creators. We're always searching that out because the determination and grit to keep going
Right.
in those events is so apparent with these racers. But then you get to the next track and you make another all out pass. And some of these events are weekend events, which we call regional events, which are, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and some 200 or 300 miles worth of street driving. But events like Sick Week or Summit Racing Midwest Drags, those events could be 1,000 miles, and some of the Rocky Mountain Race Week are like 1,300 miles worth of driving in your race car with all of your supplies. That's the key, right? We're not putting these cars on trailers. A lot of folks will trailer them to that first track, and then you make this huge loop and you come back and you race every day. So it's not just a
Wow.
cruise night. It's not just something like that. It is literally the best week you'll ever have in your car, I promise, because for a week, anywhere between 100 and 400 people are doing the exact same thing you are. It's so amazing to pull into a restaurant or gas station and it literally be filled with friends that you don't even know. You don't know their names. You just know that, like Alex Taylor, who we'll talk about in a minute, her and her dad drive a 55 Chevrolet. Oh, cool. I saw that at the last track. I have my Camaro or whatever you're driving. You pull in, oh, hey, everybody talks because you're all going the same route. You're all going to the same route stops. You're all doing all of the stuff on the street. It's so cool.
So I've got a bunch of questions. So
Bring it on.
let's just say you start in Kalamazoo, Michigan, and you're going to go around Michigan, and then you're going to end up back in Kalamazoo, I assume?
Yep. And the reason we do that, there are some events that will start and stop at different locations, kind of like Hot Rod Power Tour, but that becomes very hard for fast cars because a lot of times a very fast car, they may be built for that, but they're not built for the 800-mile trip home. And so,
Okay.
we're talking about roadside repairs earlier. Well, an example of Midwest drags, let's say, is typically in the Midwest. You may be in Indianapolis for your first day, but then you may be in Ohio for your second or third day, and you're 300 or 400 miles from your car, your truck and trailer. So you have to fix your car. There's transmissions being rebuilt in the parking lots. There's engines being rebuilt, new, crank bearings and all this kind of stuff being put in these cars just in a McDonald's or O'Reilly's parking lot on jack stands. So,
Okay, so I'm driving my actual race car down the highway.
oh yeah, yeah, highway, back roads. We try and stick to the back roads a lot of times because race cars have a deep gear, so you're trying to maybe keep it around 55 or 60. But guys like Rich Guido, who just drove his car from Canada to Florida, 3,500 miles one way, pulling a trailer in his stick shift car, passes people at above the posted speed limit. That's all I'm going to say. He's got a 6-speed in the car. The car makes 1,500 horsepower and pulls a 1,100-pound trailer. So, hey, 815, how are you, bud? Eric helps me run the Drag and Drive weekly show.
Okay, Eric White.
That we do. Yep, that we do on Wednesday nights. So,
okay.
we're kind of competing for time there.
Well, we may have, yeah. I've often thought I might have to change my Wednesday because it competes. Well, it competes also with my friends that do the Midwest Compact Touring Series. Their podcast is also on Wednesday night, and so yeah, I'm gonna look at that and see if I have another night that works better for me. But in the meantime, we'll just compete against each other. It's okay. Not a problem.
We'll send people your way too.
Yeah, absolutely. And mine's recorded. I'm sure yours is too. So you can always listen to it later.
Yep.
So, Mike, I'm trying to picture 50, let's just say 50 race cars going down a 2-lane road somewhere in Michigan. Are they like in a line, or do some of them start before others? Are they spread out? Tell me about how does that work?
Yeah. So every day is so different because it may be, let's put you as an example. Let's say you are racing your car and it is a 10-second car. Well, your class may be called at 12 p.m., right? Well, maybe the really fast guys got to go that morning and they only make one pass and they're like, hey, that's a good enough pass for us to stay in front of this class. We'll go on. They'll go back to their pit and they'll load their trailer up and they'll go on down the road. So you may see some cars on the road like Devin Vanderhoof this year. He was on the road by 10 or 11 o'clock every day, where some people, they make a pass, they spin the tire. Oh man, now they got to go back to the end of the pit or into the staging lanes. It's another hour till they get to make another pass. Oh, the second pass, they're too fast, which we'll talk about in a minute about some of these classes. You can be too fast for your class. Well, now you've got to go back and so now you're cool down 4 hours in the pits, because you're talking to your friends, you're there for 2 hours. Now it's 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The track's going to close at 4. Man, I better get to the staging lanes. Now you get done at 3:30. So Devin has left at 10. You leave at 3:30. You make your second pass at 3:30. You leave at 5.
Okay.
Because you've got to come back. And unless you're racing on your race tires, driving on your race tires, then you have to change over to regular street tires. Well, you may have to load all your pit up, put it in your trailer, or like some of these crazy wild people, they do what we call yard sale, which means they load everything in the car and then when they get ready to race, they unload the entire car. So let me give your
Wow.
folks a glimpse of
Okay.
how hard yard selling is. Next time you go on vacation, go to the hotel or condo, unload everything you own that you brought with you. Then the next morning, get up and reload everything in the car, and then go somewhere and change your tires around, and then drive all out, and then go back
Do
to
it
the
again.
hotel, yeah, and do it all over again at a completely new hotel. So you're not even at the same hotel 2 nights.
Oh
So
gosh.
so you
You
know,
would have to really enjoy, like, okay, for instance, I like to know the plan.
yep,
Okay.
yep,
There's no, the plan doesn't, is out the window as soon as you don't do something right on your first pass.
that's exactly right.
And so that would have me like going bonkers. And then it takes me a night or two to get used to sleeping in a different bed.
Yeah,
So that's out the window.
yeah. Well,
So
the good thing is
you
you're
have
only
to
gonna
just want to do this so bad that you don't care about
yes.
any of that, right?
Yeah, well, the other good thing is you're only gonna sleep about 3 hours a night,
Oh
and
well, then I'll
you're
sleep
gonna
in my
eat
truck.
yeah, that's right. You're gonna eat about 800 calories throughout the day, and you're gonna
Uh-huh.
sleep about 3 hours at night. So by the time you get somewhere, you don't care. You'll sleep in the car on the drive to the next,
I
your
got it.
route or whatever. So, um, I'm giving you all the bad things, but it really is the best week ever. I love it.
So Eric says Drag and Drive is the most chaotic fun you'll have with your race car. And I can see that.
Yes, yes, that is 100%. So, I mentioned Devin Vanderhoof earlier. He made one pass every day and was done, and he ran an eighth mile class and was the fastest in that class. But the key to his success was his months of prep for that event, where you have other guys that come in that are literally working on their car in registration and tech to finish it because they just finished building it, like David and Nick Deal of Auto Dynamics. They literally finished the car, worked on it every day for 3 months, had made 0 test passes on it. So not only are they sorting out, and it was a brand new build for them, not only were they sorting out, hey, this seat isn't very comfortable. I don't know why we put these seats in. Then they're sorting out a car that is completely untested. So they went out and blew the tires off the first 3 passes of day one. So they were there all day. Well, then by the end of the week, those guys are real racers. They had it figured out, but they never went as fast as they wanted to. And those guys are pretty hard on their stuff and on themselves. They want to go very, very fast. But it was pretty intense to see all those folks running through that and struggling. And then you have Devin over here who literally has a car that makes 3,000 plus horsepower and goes out and makes one hit, goes back, puts the street tires on, and leaves. He's done by 10:30 or 11 o'clock every day.
Wow.
Yeah, he's to the hotel before dark, which is a key phrase that comes in later in the week when you have no sleep.
Yeah.
A car starts making weird noises. This is always a good example here. Starts making weird noises. Oh man, the bottom end is bad. We've got a rod knock in it. Turns out it's the flywheel or the flex plate. And guys completely disassemble and tear down the motor to find out it could have been fixed in 30 minutes. Or the car's not charging. I don't know. Put a new alternator on it. Oh man, the relay was unplugged and it was just,
No.
yeah,
Because
all
you're
kinds of
tired
stuff.
and you just
Yeah.
can't think of,
Yep.
your brain's tired. So you can't really just think logically what would be the easiest thing that
Yep.
could have happened.
Yep. And so you can see these guys that come into these events, the more events they do, the better they perform because they are one, generally racing the same car. And then they know that car and they've used these events to, you know, work through all the problems. And then you go into, the motor swaps during a drag and driver wild. That's 100%. Jared Gwynn and his family pushed their S10 a mile in Colorado so they wouldn't be out of competition. And they changed the engine in the pit or in the garage of a shop, like a shop garage, and then drove it all out. This is a junkyard motor, drove it all out, made it to the track with 10 minutes left to spare. So, and they had been up for 30 hours at that point.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was him and his daughter and his wife. It's an amazing story. I love it. The Gwynns are
So
amazing people.
Delaney Dunn is somebody that's been a follower of mine since the beginning. So she's either been to one or she knows about it, or she wouldn't know about the
Yeah.
motor swap. But oh my gosh. So do these people that do this, first of all, they're crazy, but second of all, they sound like they'd be a whole lot of fun to hang around. Do they do a lot of the events or do they pick and choose?
Well, so you have a good mix. Last year we saw only 4 people out of almost 1,600 or 1,800 only did 4 events. But until 2023, we didn't have that many. There were only 9 events, or sorry, 11 events in 2022. And
Okay.
before that, there were only like 4 or 5 events in 2021.
So how did it get started?
So back in '05, or really before that, I think it was 2002, Hot Rod Magazine, David Freiberger put on the pump gas drags, which was you have to drive 20 miles in your race car. You have to carry everything with you. You have to be able to race on the tires you drove on, I think was the rule with that. And then it just morphed. So the whole goal
Okay.
behind it was to find the fastest street car, cars that were driven on the street. And so once they did the pump gas drags, I think that was like a 1 or 2 day event. It was like a whole weekend. People qualified. It was like a regular race, shootout
Okay.
type race. Well, then he thought, well, let's go drive. Let's make these cars actually get on the road and drive to the next track. So not only are you the fastest at, say, Memphis was always a great starting point for that, so you're the fastest in Memphis. Well, you may come to the Memphis track and race all the time. Well, now you need to drive like Midwest Drags. We're going from Virginia Motorsports Park to Atco Raceway to Cecil. So now you've got to be the fastest at all 3 tracks, but you're going to race at the starting point twice because you're going to race day 1 and day 4.
Okay.
So, yeah, yeah,
You've got to come to Michigan because I have to experience this. This is just so it just
it's
sounds
pretty
so
amazing.
so fun.
Well,
Absolutely.
and one thing that's fun for spectators is to walk around in the pits and see these cars, because a lot of these cars, we talk about the fast people all the time, like Alex Taylor and Tina Pierce and her 7-second Nova, and we talk about that a lot. But a lot of these cars are cars that anyone can build, and the largest grouping is 10 and 12-second cars. Like those are the folks
Really.
that, one, they're racing all out, they're putting all their best foot forward to get there. And then that's those 2 are almost a third of the entire
Wow.
conglomerate that makes up Drag and Drive of 2022 anyways. Now we'll see what 2023 brings, but
So how many events are coming up in 2023?
as of right now, 24. And you talked about coming to Michigan. There is um, I've been working with a group of people that are talking about one in Michigan. So there's
Okay.
going to be one that's close to you. And yeah, Delaney here says maintaining an average ET is key, because that's how you win your class. Is these all out classes are easy because you're just running all out. But these classes, like the fastest woman for 2022 was Emily Ballard, and she could not go faster than an 850 because of her cage. So
Okay.
they ran several 840s in the quarter mile, and she can't turn that pass in. So that's a
Oh
whole nother
man.
set that we'll talk about in a minute. I love the 850 class. It's my favorite class by far, because a lot of those cars look like regular cars. You start getting into some of the 6 and 7-second cars. Those are real on race cars. You can see the roll
Right.
cages in them. You can tell it's a dedicated race car that's on the street. But like Brian Acton and Jay Blanchard run a 70 Nova that is gorgeous. And if it was sitting in a parking lot with 15-inch Kragers on it, it would just look like a regular 70 Nova. And that car can go 7 seconds and is one of the premier 850 cars that are available or that are out there.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
This is so I didn't get any of this just from looking at the
Yeah.
website. But
Yep.
I was just looking at it quick,
Yep.
because I knew you were going to
Yep.
be on and I knew you were going to be able to explain it to me way better than reading about it.
Yep.
So are these events more difficult for the drivers that come, or are these more just fun events? Do they win money? What do they win if they win? Tell me about that.
Yeah, so Devin Vanderhoof said this is the hardest event you'll ever race in, because it is an all-out race every day, and the drive between the track is hard because of your adrenaline and the fatigue that you see. So,
Okay.
3 hours of sleep, 800 calories. You're not getting enough water or Gatorade. So by day three, your brain is mush and you're hoping that you get a good pass mate. And then if you win your class, here's the best part: you don't get anything, you don't get any money. I mean, you get bragging rights, I guess, but
Okay.
you
Okay.
get really cool trophies. A lot of these events give really cool trophies, and it really is a determination trophy. You want to win that trophy because you finished, because there's nothing cooler than pulling in, these long events like day 5, and you've covered 1,000 miles, and you've had your engine out, or you've had your turbo off, or you've fixed other people's transmission in a ditch on a roadside because they can't drive anymore. There's a farmer that pulled up that brought you water and cups of Chex Mix so you could survive the night in the middle of Kansas, which I'll tell that story in a minute too, while a wheel bearing goes out on a specialty rear axle that nobody had the part for. Me, it's amazing. But the friendships you make at these are like no other,
I'm
because
sure.
you guys have all chewed the same dirt. You've all
Mhm.
driven the same. You've all been to that same sketchy gas station that, did my cart get run twice, or did it just get run once for that gas? I don't know. But yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. There's very few events that pay out. Rocky Mountain Race Week is one of them. The RMRW there uh, pays out cash. And then this year, Summit Racing Midwest Drags will give cash payouts because Delta PAG has stepped up, and that is their, I don't know, sponsorship or their gift to the
Okay.
racers this year is 7,500. So, and
Wow.
then Rocky Mountain Race Week pays out like 40,000 across, I think it's 18 classes or something like that. So,
Wow.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty
So
wild,
I
but you
can't
don't
believe.
you don't do this for the money.
No, well, that's true of pretty much any kind of racing.
Yeah.
So that's just normal. That's what we're used to, right? For
Yep.
sure. Yeah.
Um,
So
Go ahead.
you had 4 events in 2019, and now you've got 6 times that many
Yeah.
in 2023. How do you explain the growth? I mean, I can say what I think is why you have the growth. You tell me.
Yep. So I feel like and we started covering this last year with the vast swaths of the country and Canada that had 0 events. So with even 11 events in 2022, there was still nothing west of the Rocky Mountains. So finally, we have one now, Redwood Rally in California, which is a huge plus. There's talk of one in Montana and Idaho. I think what happens is with these events selling out in 3 to 12 minutes, I mean, literally, they'll put the website up and it crashes the website and it sells out and the event is full. And people are like, wait, I didn't even hear about Rocky Mountain Race Week. Oh, well, it's sold out anyways, doesn't matter. Well, what happens is there are so many people that want to do this that are probably okay promoters. They can put an event together. So they're like, hey, let's put one. Let's call some of our local tracks. Let's put one
Okay.
together. And what we've seen the largest growth in is regional events, which is one thing we've never had before, which are weekend events, 1, 2, or 3 day events. And for us to track it, I'll say this is an average of 80 miles per day between race days. So
Okay.
if you have a 3 day event, you need to drive 160 miles. So we've seen huge growth in that. So there are 9 national events and then 15 regional events. So that's
Okay.
obviously been the biggest growth. So
So you said they sell out. So you only allow so many cars for each class at each event?
yep. So the one thing you want to do as a promoter is have one for the people to have a good experience. So for your followers that have been on Hot Rod Power Tour that has 3,000 to 7,000 cars, there's no way you could ever run that many cars through a drag strip.
No.
Well, if you're going to make the tracks are typically open 6 to 7 hours, hot for 6 to 7 hours. Well, if you're going to have cars make 3 or 4 passes, sometimes 6 or 7, like Brian and Jay, those cars have to be able to make that loop. Well, if you even had 500 cars, you'd have a hard time because
Right.
there's going to be oil downs.
Sure.
Because again, we went back to these guys don't have their stuff together 2
Yeah.
days before the event. They've never tested. They go out and blow an oil line off.
Yeah.
Didn't realize it till they get to the end of the track, blow the motor. Now you've got a huge mess to clean up. You're down for 2 hours.
Yeah.
of the 7 you had. So,
Right. Right.
and they'll extend it sometimes, but a lot of times the tracks are like, hey, this is all we have staff for,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
I don't even know what else to say. Who's the fastest woman?
Yeah. So Miss Alex Taylor, which we talked about earlier, this was a fun race to watch all week because her and Tina Pierce, I don't put any feud on anybody, no rivalries or anything like that, because I want everybody to go as fast and have as much fun as they can.
Mm-hmm.
But we watched all week as Tina got really close to retaking or taking over the fastest woman. So all week I'm watching this, like every day I'm pulling up the results and all that kind of stuff. So Alex Taylor's in the Sobos 55, their 55 Chevrolet they built for Dragon, specifically built for Dragon Drive. She
Okay.
finished the week with an average of a 6.987 in the quarter mile, right? So
Okay.
across 5 days of racing, her average time was 6.987 seconds at
Damn.
200 miles an hour. She is bad,
I
real
guess
bad.
so.
What's cool is she actually held the fastest woman title before that. And then Tina, with her new car, would have technically taken it over last year, but we don't count national events, which are 4+ days, the same as regional events, which are
Okay.
3+ days. So, or 1 to 3 days.
Okay.
So Alex Taylor, she won. She had an ET average, of 7.544 before that from, I think it was 2021. So she had held it for a little while. And then she
Okay.
won the unlimited iron class at Sick Week just last week with 4 days of the 5. She ran a 6-second pass and she really got rid. It was a 7:09 for her last pass of the event. So she really could have probably got there, but the car just wasn't there anymore. So pretty
Okay.
amazing. Her fastest pass was a 6.902 at 206 miles an hour.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and she's 24 years old, pretty
I
wild.
know. I
So,
follow her on
yeah.
Facebook, but I wasn't connecting her to this. And
Yep.
so that's all new. So explain Sick Week, because my friend Michaael runs the Alaska Raceway Park.
Cool. Yeah.
And
They made a big announcement.
She was at Sick Week. And
Yeah.
so tell me about Sick Week. Where is it? I know it's over, but we can always look at next year.
Yeah, for sure.
What is Sick Week and why do they call it that? And tell me about it.
Well, so a long time ago, Tom Bailey started calling his cars, it was like 6 seconds. So like the first car went 6 seconds, and then the second car, which was 2.0, was named 6 seconds. So then he created a magazine that's dedicated to Dragon Drive called Sick the Mag. And so then if you're going to do Sick the Mag, if you're going to cover Dragon Drive, you've got to have your own event. So he does Sick Week. In Florida. It started 2022 at started and ended at Bradenton, and then hit like Orlando, Gainesville, and South Georgia Motorsports Park. But we went to all the same tracks this year, but started and ended at Orlando.
Okay.
So it's a week in Florida in February to hang out with your race car friends, essentially.
Right before the Daytona 500.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
So if I came to Sick Week and I wanted to, like, would a spectator normally like go to every track and follow the whole thing, or would they just like, start in Orlando, watch that, hang out, go to Disney, do whatever, and then see it on the last day? What would your spectators typically do?
Well, so being that Dragon Drive is a different group of people and these events sell out so fast, we have seen a new group called like Sick Ward, or Midwest Drags calls it the VIPs, and Race Week, Rocky Mountain Race Week, and Race Week, their second event, calls them Road Weekers. So a lot of people will do those style, like they'll sign up for the VIP in Midwest Drags, and they'll follow the same route and go to the tracks, get free entry into the tracks, get special treatment at certain things. So that's what I would always recommend, is you get the full experience, but you're not racing. You're not putting that beating on your car. One thing that's very beneficial for people that want to race, but maybe they didn't get in time, is bring your race car and sort out the bugs on the VIP trip, on road week,
Oh,
on the sick ward for sick week. Sort it out that way because you
okay.
can then it, plus
Kind
I
of like a
think,
practice.
well, right. And I think as these events get harder and harder to get into, I think, hey, I was in the VIP last year. Can I get early entry into the racer portion for 2024 for like Midwest Tract or something like that? So I think we'll see a little bit of favoritism to those people that may have brought out a cool car that, made some good friends during that week and things like that.
So I was going to ask you. So, oh, sorry. If
You're good.
I raced this year, do I get first chance to sign up for next year, or it's just every man for himself?
Well, so each event does things a little different. So you'll have like Sick Week will only allow the fastest 100 passes. Everything we do is based on average. That's why I have to think about it every time.
Okay.
With Sick Week, it's the fastest 100 passes. So they're looking for the fastest grouping of cars. So maybe say somebody makes 2 days of the event and they made a really fast pass and they're within that 100, they'll get early registration.
Okay.
Well, Midwest Drags, Rocky Mountain Race Week, and then some of the other smaller events they'll provide early registration opportunities to racers of the previous year. So
Okay.
Rocky Mountain really started that, and it really is the funnest thing because if you are a longtime race week participant like I am, you I will say this: Rocky Mountain and Race Week, which are put on by the same team, will have 70 or 80% of the total entries will be the same people that participated last year.
Okay.
So it's like a huge reunion
Sure.
so you're showing up, you're going to see everybody that you saw last year. And that may be the only time you physically see each
Right.
other in person. But you talk online and in Facebook groups and stuff,
Yeah.
but that's your way to get in. And then so for us, and this is probably more information than anybody cares to know, but for us, we are doing so Race Week, which is in September, is going to the Rocky Mountains now. So it will follow the same tracks as Rocky Mountain Race Week, which is not normal. Usually they're Oklahoma and Texas. And
Okay.
so we're like, do we want to make that trip out there? And we're like, man, that's so much more time, to do that. But for us, it keeps our spot locked in. So
Yeah.
then the next year, we don't have to worry about the event selling out before we get in.
Right.
So,
So where are you located, Mike?
yep. So I'm here in Northwest Arkansas in Bentonville. I don't know if anybody knows where that is.
I
You
know where
probably,
that is.
nobody out there probably does, but we have this small company here that
Okay, now
started. It's
wait,
called
don't say it.
Walmart.
No, I
I'm
know.
sorry.
It has the first Walmart,
Yep.
and it's grown to be huge. And I have an interesting thing about that somebody told me, and maybe you know if this is true. So my friend lives down in that area. She moved to Missouri, but we went to Bentonville. It's been 8 or 10 years ago now. I was there, but what she told me was, if I have a product and I want Walmart to carry it, I have to have some type of an office in Bentonville, Arkansas. And
Yep.
that is why that town has grown so much and why the beautiful homes are there, because somebody from whatever company has to live there. Is that
Yep.
still
So
right?
that is true as of right now. Now, I will say some things have changed because of the pandemic and things like that.
Yes,
And so a lot of those folks have gone, they work from home now. Now, Walmart is building a brand new campus here in town. It's going to be absolutely gorgeous. It's
I'm
really gonna
sure.
gonna help it's going to bring a lot of people here for them because they're closing a lot of satellite offices.
Okay.
But the biggest benefit I think to us is we're going to end up with a lot that are parking lots now will end up being home opportunities.
Uh-huh.
The Waltons have purchased all of the land that Walmart offices sit on, and so they'll begin to develop those into communities and
Okay.
homes and things like that.
Yeah.
So we'll end up with a lot. You'll have to come back. It's going to be
Oh,
really fun.
I'll definitely come back because my
Yeah,
friend, like I said, she lives in Missouri, but
yeah,
it's not, it wasn't that far. And so anyway, yeah, that's awesome. So yes,
yeah.
I've actually been there. That was very cool. Um, yeah. So for you to go from Arkansas to, like you said, Texas or Oklahoma, you're going halfway across the country,
Yeah.
but it locks your spot in. So it's do I want my spot or do I want to make the travel?
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Because race week is capped at 300. And so
Okay.
if you figure 80% of those people come back, there are only 60 spots available to the general public.
Yeah.
Well, their Facebook group page is more than 10,000 members. So if you're talking about 60 people out of those 10,000 are trying to get in. So plus
Yeah.
all the people that don't follow it that watch like 1320 video
Yeah.
and things like that, that's really where this has exploded, is because people like Cletus McFarland, he
Yeah.
competes in these events,
I know who that is.
Alex Taylor, all those big influencers, Scott Brown, all those people
Okay.
kind of compete in this stuff. And so then they go back and they post on social and everybody gets all hot and bothered because, the coolest thing is, like, when you're on these events, those social media influencers are just other racers,
Yes. Yes.
So
So
that
my
makes it a lot of
friends,
fun.
a couple of my friends run the Midwest Compact Touring Series, and they have an event this year. It was the second event at the track in Florida, Cletus McFarland's track.
Oh, fun.
And so they have a really kind of exploded as well.
Yeah.
They mostly race in, I would say, Indiana, Ohio, Michigan, right up in here. I mean, I can drive 20 minutes and see one of their races
That's
because
awesome.
I'm so lucky. I have so many cool tracks.
Yeah.
But I had never heard of Cletus McFarland until they went there to race. But he definitely is an influencer, and there's a lot of other ones too. So that's very cool. I can't believe I haven't heard about this prior to today. And Delaney, shame on you for not telling me more about Dragon Drive. But anyway,
Well, so here's what you got to think of, because I get this a lot. Nobody's heard of it, and listen, I love it. I live and breathe it. So we are such a small part of the drag racing community. Like, take the U.S. Nationals for example in Indy. There's 900 race teams at that one event. So you have, this is an event that is racing at different tracks every day for 5 days with, dwindling numbers each day. So we started with 330 at the beginning of Sick Week and had 240 at the end of the week of people that had fallen out throughout the week. So
yeah, because their car broke, they can't get the parts, whatever it might be.
Yep. So, you take say you have friends that are racing at the U.S. Nationals. Well, by day 3 of the U.S. Nationals, you're like, hey, I'll go down. It's Saturday. Well, by this one, you don't know where they're going to be the next day. So we are a very, very small portion of the community until 2023. We'll have close to 4,000 racers registered this year, which will more than double what 2022 was.
So what does it cost to register? Do you, like, for one event? I'm sure they're all different prices, but what's an average cost for registration to be in an event?
Yeah. So for the national level stuff which is again the week-long stuff, you're looking at about 500, anywhere from 450 to 500 to register.
Okay.
And again, that gets you into tracks every day. That gets you, whatever perk they have within their event, event swag. You get the windshield banner, which is that's the holy mother right there, because like you get to leave that on your car when you leave and it says all the events you've been on. So
nice.
Guys like Tom McGilton, who have competed in 19 events, he didn't have any more room on his windshield. Looks like the Fig Newton thing of Ricky Bobby.
Oh yeah.
And then you go from 500-ish there. I would say, I think we'll see a bump for 2024 because people are going to start offering more cool stuff.
Yeah.
500 for the event there. And then these regional events are anywhere from 200 to, we've seen a few at 300, but they offer a little more stuff, or one more day of, 3 days of or 4 days of racing instead of 3 or something like that. So,
okay. So, and that's per person. So like if
no, that's for the car.
Oh, that's for the car.
Yeah. You're registering your car. And so you can have driver and co-pilot is for that.
Yep. So you could have 2 people for 4 days of racing. That's really not that bad.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And it's really cool because we see so many people with so many different ideas. So you have folks that want to sleep in a bed and have a shower every night. They're like, I'm getting hotels every night, and they'll spend $150, $200 a night on a hotel. But then you have guys that are like, oh man, I've got a $20 tent. I'm going to drive to the next track and I'm just going to put my tent up and I'm going to sleep outside. So a lot of that. So
Yeah. I wouldn't be the sleep outside person. I do have hey, you should spread the word. I do have a really nice motorhome for sale that I lived in the last 2 winters, but we built a new house
nice.
this last year, and so we've kind of decided we kind of like being in our house here in Michigan, although my daughters in Arizona were not as happy because I'm not out there. But
Yep.
Very nice motorhome, and if you have an event close enough, I'll even deliver it to you.
Ooh, I like the way you're talking.
So we should have a conversation about that.
Yeah.
Hey, you could even rent that out, make money on the weekends. There you
go.
go.
That's right. That's right.
Eric says you should buy it. And Eric's going to go in with you on it.
Well,
so the
he
two of you
needs
can
to
own it.
Yeah, perfect. We'll keep it at my house, Eric.
There you go.
That'll be perfect. That'll be perfect. Yep.
So I, just like all motorsports, I know it's mostly men, but how are there a fair amount of women that you see do this, or is it very small?
I would say, I hate to say very small, but female drag racers are a small group. Now, female drag racers that don't mind sliding under their car in a ditch,
Yeah.
pulling a transmission 3 times during the week, that's even smaller.
Right.
So
That's kind of what I was thinking.
Yep. And so you end up with a really small group, but the ladies that do this, we talked about Tina Pierce, we talked about Alex Taylor and Emily Ballard, but women like Audra McGilton, Beeler, her and her dad both race. He's the one that's competed in more events than anyone ever, and she's right there behind him in her El Camino, and she wrenches on that car, and they're always building something. So if you are a female that races and is fast and you want to do drag and drive, you probably better get ready to change spark plugs. I mean, do all the stuff, don't just be a pretty face, which I don't think any of your followers are.
Well, I've got a lot of pretty faces, but they're also,
that came out wrong. Yeah,
they also get down and dirty because a lot of them work on their cars. But so 2 things about what you just said. But most of these women would have somebody with them to help, right? Yeah. So it's not like she's in the ditch under her car by herself.
Right.
She would have help, and maybe more than one person, somebody else might be coming along as a spectator or whatever.
Yep.
So that part of it, I don't think should deter the women, because it's not a whole lot different than being at the drag strip on the weekend and your car breaks. It's just that here you don't know where the hell it's going to break, and you could be out in the middle of nowhere. So part,
and you better know how to fix it.
And you need to know, somebody in your crew needs to know how to fix that for sure.
Well, so that's the other thing too, is so you can't really have like a crew per se. It's you and your co-pilot. So you can't have like a team of people following you around working on the car. Like it's you and your co-pilot versus the world. So
that's good. I'm glad you clarified that. Okay. And then what was the gal's name? Her last name was Beeler.
Yeah, Audra Beeler.
Spell that for me.
Beeler.
Okay. I'm married for the second time, but my first husband, I was a Beeler.
Oh, cool.
Where's she from? Do you know?
I don't know, but I'll have to check. We'll find out after this, and she would be a great interview too.
Yeah. And so Cody Odell says, "Hi, my name is Caitlin."
Hi.
Do you know who that is? Okay, maybe she's gonna get started. And then Delaney's full of comments tonight. Thank you, Delaney. Has anyone Iron Manned a drag and drive?
I don't quite know what that means, but there are a lot of solo people that compete in these.
Oh, so that's probably what she means.
I will say their 2022 for race, or 2021 for race week and drag week, they fell. So drag week ended on a Friday, and race week started on a Monday, 1,100 miles apart. And the team, Nikki, Bobby, Nick Taylor, raced with Lonnie Tibbs at Drag Week, hurt the engine, finished the week, hurt the engine, went home to Indiana, fixed the engine, and then took it to race week and did 2 straight weeks of this. Absolute animal. He had a different co-pilot. He had Adam Hodson as his co-pilot for race week, but him and Lonnie took it on for drag week. It's pretty intense. It's a really good story.
I would think that would be exhausting.
I can't imagine. Cannot imagine.
I can't either.
Yeah.
So Eric mentioned Emma Ballard. So I know you're going to give me a whole list of names.
Yeah. Yeah. You're going to be talking to Drag and Drive ladies for as long as you want to.
we should do a whole magazine issue just on the Drag and Drive ladies. That would be fun.
There really are some great stories. And one of the biggest things I think is really cool about it is because there are so many records being set within that group.
Yeah.
You know, men have obviously pushed the envelope. We've got a guy in the 5s and things like that. And, you know, now that Alex Taylor's in the 6s, like, will we see a second woman? You know, Tina Pierce is so close to the 6-second pass. She's there on mile an hour. She's just not quite there on, I think, the first 300 feet.
Okay. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh. Yeah. And, you know, I love hearing it from your perspective, but then to talk to one of the drivers.
Yeah.
And hear, like, what's the worst thing that's happened to you, you know, and what's the best thing that's happened. I mean, I can think of all kinds of things that I would want to ask them because it's so different from anything else that any of my other ladies do.
Well, and a lot of times the reason I like this style of event is because you really have to fix your car to get to the, because there's nobody running around with a truck and empty trailer. Hey, can I help you? Can you know, let me throw your car on here and we'll drive. But you know, like Alex Taylor has taken her transmission out of her car 3 times in one day to finish an event. You know, they go up and make a pass, it would hurt it. They would put a, you know, say it needed a gear vendors, which is an overdrive setup that goes on the back of transmissions. They would replace that, and each of those is $2,500, like, to replace that, you know. So like and so they have 2. Let's say they have 2. Well, then you take one and it's broken, so you send it back to get rebuilt, whatever that costs, you know. So like it's just it's really amazing, and there's so many women that are out that are getting the cars completely ready, changing tires, setting spark plugs. You know, Jason and Amanda Tabscott are a great husband and wife team that run the fastest small block car in Drag and Drive, and they run mid 8-second quarter-mile passes in a 70-ish Camaro with a small block Chevrolet in it.
Another great story right there, husband and wife team.
Yeah, it's really great. And Amanda could tell you, if she would be on camera with you, she would tell you some great stories. She'll never jump on camera, but I've got to kind of coax her every little bit to get me to get her to tell me stories.
Okay, so maybe she'd tell them for the magazine.
I'm sure she would. Sure she would.
I'm just, oh my gosh. So you know how they feel when they run down, you know, they make a pass and it's a really good pass, and that the adrenaline. Okay, I'm feeling that adrenaline just thinking about the people I can interview and the stories, and I'm going to relook at the schedule because I've got to get to an event, because
you've
my husband would love this. My husband would love this too.
Yeah.
So
and you guys could sign up, you know, doing the VIP or the road week or sick ward or something like that would be so much fun, because then you don't have the stress of doing the event every day. And I'm editing a video now that will have all of the sick ward cars in it. So there's always really cool cars that you see too. There's not a lot of late model stuff, but that is certainly welcomed because you're still making the same route as everybody else.
Right. So, oh my gosh. Yeah. So what have I not asked you about, Mike, that we have to make sure people know about Drag and Drive? One, how do they find you? How do they follow you? All that. But what else?
Yeah, so I'm a big nerd when it comes to these kind of stats, the stats that are involved, because if you've been around NHRA for a long time, or NASCAR, or whatever sanctioning body you follow, those guys have, oh, well, so-and-so hasn't won an event in 12 years, whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
Well, there's none of that for this until we came along. So we have the historical data for all of the Drag and Drive events that have ever participated, national level anyways. I'm working on getting some of the crazy weekend stuff. I'm trying to find that stuff now too.
Okay.
But then I've taken all of that data and I've built out like Billy Gebhardt for a long time kept up with Hot Rod Drag Week stats and data. So that family gifted us the data that he had collected for since 2005 to his passing in 2019.
Wow.
So I've taken all of that and I've gathered all these lists, and I've really been a big statistician, is I guess about the only thing you can say, is because I've built all these lists within each event that has had all these. And so dragondrive.com houses all of that. So we have the
Okay.
Billy Gebhardt Hot Rod Drag Week historical data. We have Rocky Mountain Race Week historical data, which is started events in 2015, and it has now 2 events every year. And so once Sick Week, the promoters have Sick Summer, we'll have Sick Week historical data as well that's available
Okay.
to racers and promoters. That's the big thing, and announcers, that
Yeah.
these guys can go, and we've got a lot planned for the website this year with racer profiles, to where you could have an announcer have our website pulled up and he could type in a name like Tom McGilton, and he would see all 19 events that he's participated in. So he would then be able to pull how many cars has he raced, which is always another good stat.
Yeah.
And then his fastest pass, but also his fastest average and which event that was at. So lots of stuff that's available. If you think about NHRA,
Uh-huh.
that is where we're headed. We are headed
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
one of the biggest struggles that I have is the lack of data that I get from events, because I only get the pass that a person wants to submit. Okay, that's key number one. Then I only get quarter mile or eighth mile ET. I don't get reaction time, 60 foot, anything like that. So that's what we're going to move to, is to try and begin gathering that information so I can provide that moving forward. So all of that can be found on dragondrive.com. We run every social media site that TikTok, Instagram,
Yeah.
Facebook, YouTube. You can search for drag-in-drive, and it'll generally pull us up.
Okay.
So
So I love stats as well. So you're a man after my own heart.
yeah,
I love all that kind of stuff. That's why I love Larry McReynolds. He can just tell you everything about everything. And so so I love stats as well. So I'm going to check that out. Check that out too.
It's really, you were saying earlier you had been on the website, and when for an outsider looking in, it really does take a few minutes. So you're almost best to start on the blog page and kind of read some stuff and understand why I'm putting those lists together. It's because no one else ever has, and there's so much stuff that is in the works right now. People are really, really jazzed up about Drag and Drive, and that just makes me more excited about it too. So,
I'm excited about it, and I don't have any connection to it now other than you, Mike. But I'm definitely going to put that on my bucket list of things that I want to do, because always looking for something fun and different. And
well, this
Martin,
definitely is.
Martin, Michigan has a great drag strip, just by the way.
Yep.
And that's only about a half hour from me. So.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, the group that we talked about in Michigan had looked there, and then obviously some places around Detroit, and then Ohio and things like that too. So we'll have more on that probably on next week's Drag and Drive show. So we host a weekly Drag and Drive show, like we talked about earlier, Wednesday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern. So I hope that doesn't coincide with when
I'm at
live.
7, so I'm usually done by 8. So we're back to back. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So make sure you let me know when that is in the works, and because I want to put that on my calendar, and my calendar is starting to get full because my granddaughter's racing.
Fun.
My granddaughters have both raced. The one granddaughter is continuing to race. The other one has decided to be a support person and not race. But so I've got all her races in my book. I have my NASCAR races. I have NHRA, and so I probably have to erase one and get this one in. So absolutely, for sure.
Little Courtney and Erica Enders action there.
Yeah.
And we talked about Alex Taylor a lot earlier. Her sister Megan runs all of the all of her social media. So,
Okay.
that's a big part of all this
It
leading up to this
is.
too is as a racer, it's very hard to put out social media posts and things like that, keep everybody updated.
Yeah.
And then so you've got to, if anytime you can have help from that, that's always a big plus. So, and if
Well,
it's your sister, that's awesome.
yeah, absolutely. And so my granddaughter runs circle track, oval,
Mm,
asphalt.
yeah, cool.
Yeah, she runs a street stock, and so she's going to have some exciting things coming up this
Yeah,
year and some announcements. So it's going to be a fun year for her, and I'm looking
that's
forward to
awesome.
that. But I've got to keep some of those races on
Mhm.
my calendar. But
Yeah,
she already knows that I'm going to have to watch my race pass and
yep.
follow her because I can't be at all those because. One of the cool things I get to do this year is I'm going to be a volunteer at the um, Nashville Indy race.
Oh, how cool.
And I'm so
How
excited
cool.
about that.
Yeah.
My very first Indy race was in Nashville 2 years ago. Last year, I went to the Indy 500,
Ooh.
which everybody should do at least once.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I would think that.
Um,
Yep.
and then this year, I finagled my way in to be a volunteer.
That's too cool.
So I'm
That
excited about that.
well, and you'll get to see a completely different side of it.
Oh, I can't wait.
Yep.
I can't wait. I'm so excited. So
Yep.
anyway,
Yeah.
all
Talking
right.
about volunteers real quick. I know we're about done,
No,
but
hey, go ahead. I've
talking about
got all
volunteers,
evening.
all these events, it's the same thing that you run into. There's not enough staff. There's
Yeah.
not enough people that can help with that. But I'll tell you, walking around with bottles of water,
Yeah.
just 8-ounce bottles of water, and handing them to those, I'm going to say dudes, because
Yeah.
generally we're not smart enough to think, when was the last time I had water? So
Uh-huh.
while you're on these events, so hey, drink this.
Yeah.
That does more like support people in
Yeah.
drag and drive is the next wave of winning, I think, because you've got to have those folks.
You
So
got to have them. And
yeah,
when you're busy and the most important thing is getting your car fixed, taking
yeah,
care of yourself and your body is the last thing that you care about,
that's right. That's right.
So
Well,
so Eric says tomorrow night you're going to be live.
yep.
So we
Yeah,
want to
we
get that out there.
Yeah, we have a great show. We are recapping Sick Week and some of the races that were within that. This is kind of a cool
Okay.
story. The 850 class actually had two of those for Sick Week.
Okay.
It literally came down to the very last pass. And in one of those classes, William Lujan and Jordan Boudreaux actually raced each other, and the winner of that race determined the winner of the entire race. I mean, it
Wow.
was wild, wild, wild. So,
I bet it was wild.
it, so not only are you racing every day, but now you're racing.
Your friends.
Yes, and for an average, and if you are, these guys are running like Aaron Schaefer ran an 8.500, the
Wow.
perfect pass, fourth time in history it's ever happened in a drag and drive event. So
Dang.
to be able to put the tuning into that car, to be able to turn in those kind of times, because an all out pass is easy.
Yeah.
Scott Brown, who races in a 53 Bel Air, he used to run the 850 class all the time, and he said, "I'm just ready to make a pass and be done. I want to go as fast as I possibly can and then be
Mhm.
done." So these guys that run index style classes, like with Rocky Mountain, they have a
Yeah.
9 through 14-second class, and the 13-second class at Rocky Mountain Race Week is probably the most contested class you'll see. It
Really.
is literally, those guys are making 5 and 6 passes a day, trying to get as close to 13,000 as they possibly can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. So
Yeah.
yes, Eric, I have been to PRI. In 2018, I had a booth. In 2019, I had a booth to get the word out about the International Women's Motorsports Association, which I also run. And then I decided that I can connect with more people if I don't have a booth and I can walk around. And so then I did that for 2 years. And then this last year, I wasn't able to go. I had something else happen. So anyway,
Yeah.
PR is a great place to connect with people
Yes.
and that too. But oh my gosh, Mike, you've got me so excited. We're supposed to have a half an inch of ice
Ooh.
tomorrow with a little bit of snow on top of it
Mm.
over the next day or two. And so when I can talk about racing
Yeah.
and summer and warm weather and I'll talk about it every day, all day long, because
That's right.
I was spoiled. The last 2 winters I was in Arizona where my daughters and some grandkids live.
Oh
We were in
man.
our motorhome in a resort, built a house, decided it was time to, sell the motorhome, which Mike, you're going to love. I can't wait for you to check it out. I'll send you some pictures.
Yeah, Eric, start putting that money over in the account.
Yeah. Yeah. Eric, start Venmoing that money over.
Yeah.
I'll send you my Venmo. And
Yeah,
so
there you go.
anyway, no, it really is a really, really nice motorhome. And for what you guys are doing, or people
Yeah.
that are doing that, I mean, seriously, it would be the best thing ever instead of paying for those hotels. But
I'll tell you this: if I had that, there'd be 8 sweaty dudes sleeping in it all week. It'd be ruined.
well, it only sleeps 4, maybe
Oh,
5 if somebody
listen,
lays on the ground,
I
on the
slept on the
floor.
floor. I slept on the floor of a hotel last week at Sick Week.
Well, the other cool thing, there's, if you open up the side door, there's like a tray that pulls out.
Mm,
There's probably room for 2 guys to sleep under there with the doors open. So
perfect. I'll just start charging rent to those guys.
there you go. If they would each just throw in a little bit of money each
Yeah,
time, you'd have it paid for in no time.
no
So,
time.
yeah, for sure. Okay, well, we're going to talk about that. So,
Yeah, definitely.
Mike, this has been such a pleasure to
Well, I
talk to you
appreciate that. Thank you
tonight.
so much.
I've learned so much. I know there's a lot more that I'm going to learn, but hopefully
Yeah.
I asked intelligent questions so that people understand more about Drag and Drive. And um, stay in touch. Absolutely. I
Oh,
want to
yeah, for
know
sure.
more about what you're doing,
Yeah.
and get me all those names of those women and the man and wife and anybody you think would make a great story. Would love to
Oh,
do
yes.
that. So
Yep.
appreciate all the comments tonight. Thank you, Eric. Thank you, Delaney. Thank you, everybody that came on and shared some comments and added some questions. We appreciate that. And so, any last words for you, Mike?
If you're dealing with some winter weather at your place there, I would advise to go watch some of the live streams. Now,
Okay.
I'm partial to the Summit Midwest Drags live stream. I feel like it is the best live stream in the mix because one, I was on it, but two, we were we
And
had
you're so humble.
well, I'm pretty awesome. We took a different approach with it. We actually put me in the pits instead of being just an announcer and announcer voice. So we had some stuff that we worked through the first
Nice.
day. It was the first time we'd worked with the team. So start on day 2 or 3,
All right.
and go from there. I think it will really show you the grit that a lot of these people have to be
Yeah.
working on their stuff, and then also it gives a whole different perspective other than just the racing. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to do that. I'm
yeah,
absolutely going to do that. All
appreciate
right.
that.
Well, thank you everybody for getting on. This, as I said, was our first bonus episode. We're going to be doing more of these. And Mike, you're number 1 on the bonus episodes. And so I know we're going to have you back
Oh,
for
yeah.
sure. And keep track of the Drag and Drive. So thanks everybody, and have a good week. And hopefully see you at the track.
Yeah.
All right.